So I've got 5 minutes in the shed. I'm a very busy person, so my plan is, with my 5 minutes in the shed, I'm going to rebuild a motorbike and I'm going to video my progress building the motorbike in 5 minute slots, because that's pretty much all the time I get. So I wanted to introduce you to the bike I'm going to build. So this is the bike I'm going to be working on. This is a 1972 BSA B50. Now, as you can see, if we can see on the headstock here, I'm not sure if it comes out on video, but here it actually says BSA B50 SS. Now, B50 SS was a BSA single engine in like a Street Scrambler frame. Now this one, I'm not entirely sure on the history, but it's come to me with a Triumph engine. So it's got a Triumph 3TA engine fitted, which makes it very similar to the 1970s Triumph trophies, which were quite popular in the US. Now this bike itself comes to me from an old friend of mine, actually. Her father, he'd built this bike a long time ago, and it sat in the shed for probably over 10 years, and it had never run as far as I know. So unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago, so the bike came to me, and it's my plan now to rebuild this and get it on the road. My plan is to put it into like a Street Scrambler kind of guise, obviously with some kind of off-roady tyres and going for like a kind of motocross kind of look. So first job, it's absolutely filthy. So you can see here, you know, it's covered in years and years of dust and muck and oil and grime. So my plan is to take it down to the house, give it a good wash, and then we'll see what we've got. Okay. Right, so here we go. I've got the bike down. What am I going to use to clean it? Well, I've heard a lot of people complain recently that gunk isn't as effective as it used to be. However, I still find it pretty good. So I've got myself a nice tub of gunk. I've got myself a bucket of soapy water with lots of fairy liquid. Now, I don't like using fairy liquid to wash motorbikes and stuff because it gets rid of all of the grease and all of the you know, anything that's kind of protective lubricant on stuff, so I don't generally use it. However, this is all going to be coming apart, so I think a good deep clean is probably the way to go. Now I'm hoping that things like the yokes, so I gave them a little brush the other day, everything seems to be fairly clean under a layer of horrible grease and stuff. Now I think the forks are bent. So there's oil leaking out of the forks, there's oil leaking out of the bike itself. The chain is actually quite oily, so I'm going to clean that all off so I don't get covered in oil while I'm taking it apart. So here it goes, I'll give it a clean, see what we've got. Right, so I've started to get some gunk on the bike. Actually, the grease and grime is starting to come away quite nicely. The yokes, for example, are actually silver in colour. Yeah, the stuff is coming off. I started to clean the engine a little bit. However, my margarine tub full of gunk, which is usually absolutely plenty to clean a motorbike, was used within like a third of a bike. So good job I got a big can. So I'm going to carry on scrubbing and see where we get to. Right, so the bike's pretty clean now. I've got 5 minutes, so I thought I'd just talk about how I'm going to work on the bike. Now, when you've got a bike and you're going to work on it, most people have like a traditional sort of bench setup where the bike can be raised to a reasonable height to work on. I don't have one of those because they take up quite a lot of space actually. What I do have is one of these fellows. This is called an Easy Riser. Now these are made by a company in Tamworth in Staffordshire. I've had this one for years actually. It was given to me by an old neighbour who used to ride R1s and things like that, big sports bikes. The cool thing about this is its footprint is pretty small. We've got a few different attachments that come with it. These guys here are wheel loops. And the wheel loops mean you can lift the bike by its wheels, and then you also have the engine or frame loops, frame supports, shall we say, which fit on the cross member in the middle and lift the bike up by its frame, so you can drop the wheels and the forks out, etc. It's pretty clever how it works. So the wheel loops kind of fit into the end here like this. So you have wheel loops there on both sides. Then when the bike's up in the air, when the bike's in the loops, this device here, you take off this plate here, and this plate traps the side stand. So the side stand goes in there and comes up to the bike, and that holds the bike vertical on this platform. Now the whole platform itself then raises with this lead screw. So the lead screw comes all the way up to the top here. So you put a socket or a drill and a socket on there. As that turns, the whole platform rises up and gets your bike into a working height. So I'm going to get the bike up to a working height now, and I'll show you what it looks like. So, come across a little problem while I'm trying to put my stand into the locking device to get the bike onto the lift. So, I'm not happy with how this foot doesn't lock underneath this plate. So, I've got it secured with a cable tie at the moment, which is very, very risky, so I don't advise anyone do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a U-bracket which goes across there and locks the stand in place that way. Now, I haven't got a plate for that. I've got some nuts and bolts and I've got a bit of metal, so I'll have to make something. Here we go. Okay, so another 5-minute job I didn't expect to do, but another 5 minutes well spent. We've now got a bracket which comes around off the foot here for the side stand, and the bracket now locks over the foot and the side stand, locked on nice and tight, so that can't go anywhere. So that's our point of fixture for the bike, how it stands. The other points are the tie loops. So gravity is going to help us keep the wheels in with the tyres onto the front and back. So we've got 3 points of contact. Next step is to raise the bike up in the air. Right then, so there we go. The bike's clean, it's had a good wash, and I've got it now in a position where I can work on it up on the stand. So let's have a little look at the bike. There it is. There it is, hovering nicely in the workshop. Trying to get the front wheel from it. There we go. There we go. So Little recap about what we needed to do. So this is where the stand joins on here. Made a little U bracket. Can just come in a little bit closer there. Needed some spacers obviously because it's too big. So that's clamped there. It's good and solid. So that's not going anywhere. Everything's nice and tight. Also put in the locking bolt here, just in case the lead screw starts to drop. There's a bolt here that bolts the two pieces together, the arm onto the support, so that won't drift down over time. So there we go, ready to work on. Fantastic. Now, unlike Project Binky and other those great YouTube videos you watch, they always finish with something along the lines of like and subscribe. I have no idea what that means, but if you want to do it, feel free. And next time I get 5 minutes, I'll do another video. Thanks.